Joining me now is Just Stop Oil spokesperson. It's Alex de Koning, and I believe he is there now. Alex, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on, although I'm not sure about the topic. I thought I was on here talking about the climate crisis. I'm a climate scientist. You speak so much about it.
Yeah,
Just Stop Oil.
absolutely, and indeed you were on, and no doubt you will expertly steer the conversation that way anyway. But I do want to just put something to you, if that's all right, and get your views on it, because a lot of people are really interested in this, as well as what you've got to say about the climate, OK? So, the Terrorism Act 2000 defines terrorism both inside and outside of the UK as the use or threat of one or more of the actions listed below, which I will go on to, OK? And where they are designated to influence the government or an international governmental organisation or to intimidate the public. So these include the use or threat must also be for the purpose of advancing political, religious, racial or ideological causes. Here are some of them that I think stand out for me about Just Stop Oil, potentially. Serious damage to property, endangering a person's life or creating a serious risk to the health or safety of the public or a section of the public. When we have a look at the definition of terrorism there, is Just Stop Oil a terrorist group? Are you a terrorist?
Of course not. I cannot believe we're still having this debate. Just Stop Oil is made of ordinary people, climate scientists, teachers, nurses, and pensioners. How on earth could you ever associate
criminal damage
people like that?
Serious damage to property. Yeah.
Hoover table, they hoovered up the pane of glass on the Van Gogh painting.
There's been groups such as yourself who have been responsible for smashing windows, causing serious criminal damage. When I look at the public's health and safety as well, blocking ambulances, you say you didn't, but you do. Okay, that's damaging people's health, isn't it?
We've
got a clip of it here. We've got a clip on the screen. I've got a clip right now on the screen.
That ambulance through the roadblock. That was a nice bridge, wasn't it?
I've got a clip on the screen right now of ambulances struggling to get through. And it's not the only one that we've seen, of course. And we had someone, unfortunately, who died waiting on a motorway for you guys. Is that not endangering a person's life other than that of the person committing the action, yourselves? And it is for an ideological cause. And crucially, you are looking to influence the government. That is the definition of terrorism, is it not?
So strikers are also terrorists. Is that what you're saying? Doctors who
No, not necessarily. Because our strikers.
In definition. Okay, look, the International Energy Agency say that we need no new oil and gas, otherwise we face an unlivable future. The International Governmental Panel for Climate Change say the exact same thing. So does the UN. So does every other political party say no new oil.
They say that, but does that legitimise you behaving in a way which, as far as I can see, would fit in with the definition of terrorism?
Oh my God, I cannot believe I am having this conversation. I am telling you that if we do not take proper action on the climate crisis, then we are facing an unlivable future, as it is put in by the IPCC report. And you were saying, does that justify blocking a road or throwing soup on a Van Gogh painting?
No, what I'm saying is, does it justify serious damage to property, endangering a person's life or creating a serious risk to the health or safety of the public? And that is before, by the way, we've got onto the economic harm as well. So I am concerned, and more for you than anything else. If the government is looking to crack down on you, before you know it, you might find yourself being done for a terror offence. But not just you, because this is the important bit, I think, maybe for people who are thinking of getting involved with Just Stop Oil. It is important to note that in order to be convicted of a terrorism offence, a person doesn't actually have to commit what could be considered a terrorist attack. Planning, assisting, or even collecting information on how to commit acts are all crimes under the British terrorism legislation. So you may well have people now who are helping you out to do your thing who could fall foul of this if the government decides to take firm action.
You really believe any of this? Come on. Look, and what's happening is our government, they've been paid £3.5 million by climate change deniers and fossil fuel lobbyists in order to keep pumping fossil fuels out, right? It's as simple as that. You can find that online very easily from The Guardian and a bunch of other sources. And we know that the more fossil fuels we have that are being burned, the more people die from air pollution, the more people die from wildfires, from droughts. Well, I don't know about you, but food security, I think, is incredibly important right now. Our crops are dying because of droughts.
If we
Last
do
summer
what
during
you
the heat
want,
wave, they were on fire. I don't know how many times I have to repeat that before it sticks with you.
If we do what you want exactly to the letter right now, people will die because energy will go off, they won't have heating, and there won't be enough food supply. If we just stopped oil right now...
oil in reserve. We say no new oil. How do you not understand this, Patrick? We had a really lovely conversation yesterday. And I clearly explained.
So the same government
oil left, which is more than enough time to make a fair transition to renewables, which are 9 times cheaper.
Right,
Why do you not want cleaner air? Why do you not want lower energy bills?
Is there not a fatal flaw in your argument, which is that you clearly have absolutely no faith or like for this government, which is fair enough. You are not alone in that for a variety of different issues, OK? But what you are saying and suggesting is that any government of this country, you would trust them to just stop oil right now, use our reserves, and then sort the situation out in the course of that 8 years. You would have no faith in them to do that, would you? So what you have to admit, therefore, is that we are going to have a crisis, whether or not it's now or in 8 years' time.
Patrick, it's not hard to do. We could be switching to renewable energies in a matter of months. The biggest solar panel farm in the UK was built in 6 weeks. Why aren't we switching? No, I don't trust this government, and neither should we. But our actions will end as soon as the government make a meaningful statement to end new oil and gas.
I've got a feeling, though, that your actions...
They should just end new oil and gas. It's much simpler for everybody, and it will lead to better lives and better economy.
The thing is, the government is trying to do, it says anyway, is trying to do everything that it possibly can in the shortest period of time, in a way that also balances the needs of the people that there are at the moment. And with respect, for a lot of members of Just Stop Oil, the needs of the ordinary person might not actually apply to people like yourselves. There are a lot of people who come from incredibly well-off backgrounds and are retired.
Your net worth is in the millions.
My net worth is in the millions. Oh, good grief. Well, I'll tell you what, that is incredible news to both me and my non-existent accountant, may I say. Look, how would you, if you are designated a terror group, would you continue to do it anyway?
We're not. I cannot believe we're being asked these sort of questions.
Well, I'm asking it to you.
You know what? Can I just say?
Can I just say, how dare you cause massive inconvenience to millions of people, cause people to potentially at times die in the back of their cars on the way to hospital, miss doctor's appointments for chemotherapy, and things like that, to cause huge economic damage to us, and then sit on this show and say, throw your hands in the air and be exasperated that I'm asking you to justify your actions. Where do you get off? Can you understand? Could you understand why some people actually think that there is a lot of self-entitled brattery that goes on with Just Stop Oil, and that turns people off your cause?
Patrick, look, I really empathise with anybody who's been disrupted. I genuinely do. Under normal circumstances, this is completely horrible, and anybody who's doing it would be in the wrong. But these are not normal circumstances, Patrick. These are not normal circumstances.
Okay. All right. Okay, all right. Now, I wonder whether or not you guys are going to be placed with banning orders, for example, for things like sporting events, so like football hooliganism, okay? Football hooligans can be placed with banning orders that ban them from going in certain areas at certain times, for example. And presumably, this is just around the corner for Just Stop Oil, is it not? And that, if it does mean that happens, which I can't see why on earth the government wouldn't do this, given that you're announcing what you're going to be doing and where you're going to be doing it and when you're going to be doing it, if that does happen, because of your actions, you would now not be allowed to protest in the way that you want to. Whereas if you just behaved more reasonably, you probably could have had a longer go at it.
Oh, I wish you said the same thing to the suffragettes. Maybe women might not have had the vote. I wish you said the same thing to the civil rights movement. Oh, if only we'd thought of maybe just going on marches, or only if we thought of signing petitions. I wish we did that.
Do you honestly see yourself, when you look in the mirror, do you see a modern-day suffragette?
No, I don't. But we're really trying to use the tactics that we think work the best. And history has shown that these tactics work the best.
In what way? No, go on. Just rattle off some examples. Because with respect, the suffragettes did not cause anything like the mass level of economic issues that you guys have caused. They did not cause. With respect, I don't really recall that happening at all. And also as well, I mean, the suffragettes stopped when they got what they wanted, right? And you guys are not.
We will happily stop as soon as the government
But what the suffragettes wanted was quite easy to do. Should have been done a long time ago. I think we can all agree that was quite easy to do, and did not have a massive, monumental impact, hugely, or negatively so in the short term, on the way that we all live our lives at a great cost to not just this country, but potentially the world as well. So there are key distinctions there between yourselves and the suffragettes, aren't there?
This is easy to do, okay? The IPCC report has clearly laid out the pathway that we can stop new oil and gas and that we can transition away. 700 of the top UK scientists wrote to the government that we need no new oil and gas. I don't know if that sounds familiar, but that's actually our demand, and just stop oil. The High Court has deemed our government unlawful for breaking its own climate change targets. They're completely betraying us. So if you really expect us to just sign a petition and go home, then we're not going to do that, obviously. We're literally talking about millions of people dying in the global south, in countries like Africa from drought, and 33 million people in Pakistan. And you really think that it's justified to just write a petition, go on a march?
OK. All right, Alex, look, thank you very much for your time. As ever, Alex Koning there, who's a Just Stop Oil activist. Right, get in touch on the back of that. GB Views at gbnews.uk.